Alright, so welcome guys to another review, and today we have a really exciting IEM. This is the KB Ear Lark, and really requested here in the channel as well. And after listening to it, I found out why. So again, really good value for me from KB Ear, much like the KS1. And for me, under $30, this is definitely one of my favorite two-driver hybrids. So actually the box is bigger than your usual kind of box, so definitely for that price range, really nice. So you're getting Lark, 1DD, 1BA as well, hybrid metal earphone. In terms of design, you're getting that custom IEM kind of design. In the hustle and bustle, find their own world. And in terms of the specs, you have 0.78 2-pin connector, 20 to 20 kHz in frequency range. It seems that you have a 10mm dynamic driver and 1BA as well. So actually KB Ear, the KS1 that I just unboxed, is really great value for me. So inside you're getting that IEM, and actually, yeah, firstly, it's really nice. Actually, you're getting a case, so that's really nice. Yeah, you're getting a case, which is definitely nice to see. You're getting your tips, a nice selection of tips. It's actually 2 sets of tips. Nice to see, definitely. And you're also getting a white cable. So definitely, yeah, this is what you expect for this kind of price range. So looking at the lobes itself, from the get-go, I do like the hold in this. It's a bit weighty maybe compared to the ZSN Pro. So also the faceplate is a bit glossy as well. So it definitely feels good, especially for the price that you're paying for. So the metal here feels a bit more weighty compared to your usual. And the design definitely has its own unique thing going for it. Whether you like that or not, that would be up to you. But it's quite a unique thing. You have a KB Ear logo as well here at the sides. And you're getting a custom IEM kind of design. Similar to your KZs. So this is a very safe shape. So anybody can just, pick this up and be okay with the shape. So yeah, I would say, if you already like KZ, KB Ear type of fit on the ear, you will feel right at home with this, especially for the price you're paying for. This feels really good in the hand, and I actually got the clear version, so that's really nice as well. So yes, I actually won't test this anymore on the ear because it's very similar to the KZs. So let's take a look at the measurements first. So looking at the measurements, so definitely it's a bright signature on the ear, and actually surprisingly pretty level until the mids region, and you have that hump at the top. So this also reminds me of maybe the CVJ CS8 in the measurements, but this is still less peaky compared to the CVJ CS8. And also, even if it measures like this with the IEM diffused field compensation, the vocals is still a bit more recessed in the mix in this IEM. So looking at the measurements, so you do get pretty level signature from the bass region to around 500 Hz region. And after 500 Hz region, you have a slight dip to around 1K. And then after that, you have that hump to around 1 to 2K. And then after that, it goes down to 2K, 2 to 3K with a slight dip. And then after that, it goes up to 5K with a more major elevation. And after that, it goes down a slight dip to around 7K. And then after that, it goes up to 10K. And after that, it goes down. So as you can notice here, guys, there's no air frequency peak. There's no 15K 12K peak here than what you see with other IEMs. And also in terms of the presentation, this is also lively sounding on the ear. Really musical, might be one of the most aggressive that I have heard in the price range. This reminds me heavily of the KB Ear KB04. So we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of that later. Yeah, for me, the tuning here is a bit more bright compared to the KB Ear 04. But definitely, yes, one of the most revealing that I have heard in the price range. So in terms of highs, so again, no unnatural peaks on top. So the cymbals have pretty good body compared to your other BA counterparts. Not peaky to listen to. So less peaky to listen to over your ZSN Pros, your ZSNs. The accuracy is better for me in this. So like in Let's Groove, Earth, Wind, and Fire, this is one of the few hybrid configurations that can resolve the shaker in the right side with a pretty good body. So sometimes some BA counterparts resolves it pretty thin. So this is better in the body overall. Also the highs here resolve some micro detail as well. And again, pretty revealing in the mix. But the downsides for me here is yes, this is still a BA presentation on top. So some people might not like a BA type of presentation, so not the best tonality for me on top. Also, you might find that the top here is a bit too aggressive for some. So I have heard of some cymbals that has a bit of sibilance on them, and yeah, maybe some fatigue as well when listening to it for a long listening session. So this is definitely an aggressive type of listen on the ear. Some people may find this too bright. And also the cymbals for me, while it's better than your other BA counterparts, it's still not better in terms of the body compared to maybe your dynamic driver counterparts. So your dynamic driver counterparts will still resolve the cymbals with better body for me. So overall for me, this is the weakness of the KB Ear Lark. So in terms of the mids are actually pretty revealing in this. Again, one of the most revealing that I have heard. Maybe the most revealing that I have heard, so definitely the aggressiveness is there. This really reminds me of the KB or KB04. So in terms of vocal positioning, so the male vocals is a bit more recessed than the female vocals. So the female vocals is where you want it to be, so the male vocals is a bit more recessed. But however, for a U type of shape, this actually still pretty good positioning. So I still like the positioning here overall. So compared to your V type of shape, compared to the KS1, compared to the ZSN Pro X's, the vocal positioning here is better for me. And also what I like about this is the vocal positioning is pretty clean in the mix. So the separation is nice on this, and again revealing in the mix as well. So more of an analytical type of listen, again more for something that you can use for some critical listening. However, the downside here is this can be a bit shouty for me. So definitely much like the KB or KB04, the aggressiveness here transfers to this as well, and this is a little bit too much for me. I can definitely listen to some sibilance in this. So for some people, especially if you're not into that, this might be an issue for you. So for me, I did change the tips on this to wider bore tips to tame down the vocals a bit, and it works like wonders. So after changing the tips, it's better. So this type of vocal is something that I can listen to for some critical listening, but not something that I can listen to for a long listening session. So that's definitely one downside. In terms of the bass, so it's tight in the mix. Maybe it kind of reminds me of Tin Audio bass in a way. It's tight, it's punchy, it's fast as well. So it doesn't overpower the rest of the spectrum. And as you can see from the graph also, it's a pretty flat bass as well. However, compared to your Tin Audios, this is still not as tight as your Tin Audios. It still has some fun, some warmth to the bass. So definitely the bass weight in this is substantial. So it's not bass light at all. So for most people, if you pick this up, the bass presence will definitely be there. So this is not a boring bass overall, not the tightest bass that I've heard as well. Definitely really cool on that, and it gives the IM better separation. But yes, one downside here is this not for bass heads. For those who's used to bass, you might find this light on the ear. So it will depend on you, depend on your preference. So soundstage in this is just above average, not the biggest that I've heard. Separation is really good on this. So this can be something that you can use for some mixing work, something like that, or even some monitoring as well. This can be good for that as well. So, but yeah, for those people who's not sensitive to fatigue with monitoring, this can be something that you can use because the separation is really good in this. So actually the sound kind of reminds me of Beyerdynamics in a way. So it's aggressive, but not something that you can listen to for a long listening session. So it will depend on you. Detail is good in this. There's some micro detail as well. So definitely that BA helped out in retrieving some micro detail. So imaging for me is above average as well. So not the best that I've heard. But for footsteps, this will be good because a clean sound on the ear. For gaming, this might be something that can help you, but again, take note of the fatigue factor. So depending on the game that you're playing. Right, so compared to the ZSN Pro X, so looking at the measurements first, so definitely the ZSN Pro X is a more V type of shape. So compared to the ZSN Pro X, the 1 to 2K is more recessed in the mix, and also the 5K peak is more pronounced. The peak is better seen, and also that 10 to 15K peak, as you can see guys, is more actually a lot more prominent. So in the Lark you don't have that 10K peak, and yeah, that 10K peak sometimes it can make the the listen more lively to listen to, but it's less accurate because yeah, it can be unnatural to listen to, especially in some cymbals. So definitely the ZSN Pro X is a more lively type of listen, more V type of sound on the ear. So the bass is more prominent in the ZSN Pro X, more lively sounding as well, more fun overall. So the Lark is a more analytical type of listen, more of a clean sound overall. The vocals in the ZSN is a little bit thicker in the presentation, a little bit smoother in the presentation, and also a little bit more laid back in the mix. So for me, the ZSNs have less shouty vocals over your Larks. The Larks is a little bit cleaner in the mix and also more revealing as well in the vocal region. The ZSN Pro X is easier to drive as well. Also, the bass is more boomy as well in the ZSN Pro X's, more prominent impact as well in the mix. So if you're a bass head, the ZSN Pro X might be a better pick for you over your Lark. So definitely compared to the ZSN Pro X, the Lark has more tight, faster bass. So the ZSN Pro X bass is tuned towards more fun over your ZSN Pro X. So these are two different IEMs for me. It will depend on your preference. If you like fun, go for the ZSN Pro X. If you're like a more enthusiast, listen to the ear, a cleaner sound, more analytical, go for the KBR Lark. So for me, personally, I prefer the Lark over the Pro X. So compared to the KS1, I'm looking at the measurements. So they're very similar to the ZSN Pro X with the KS1. So the KS1 is definitely more bassy. The bass is more elevated in the mix. So the mids region is more recessed also in the KS1. And also on top, you do have that double horns at the top with the KS1. The peaks are more prominent in the KS1. So actually, compared to the Lark, definitely the KS1 is more fun sounding compared to your Lark. So the KS1 is definitely a lot more bassy. The bass is bigger in the mix, a more V type of sound. The vocal is more recessed in the mix in the KS1 and also more laid back as well in the KS1. Smoother sound too overall with that dynamic driver presentation, and also less aggressive compared to the Lark. So the Lark has better detail retrieval, micro dynamics, a more revealing sound as well, especially in the vocal region. More aggressive sounding as well in the Lark. So yes, different sounding again. It will depend on your preference. If you like bass, fun, go for the KS1. If you like detail, analytical type of listen, go for the KBR Lark. So compared to the Spaceship, so looking at the measurements, so definitely the Spaceship is a more IM diffused, neutral to the ear. So the elevation with the Spaceship is less compared to your KBR Lark. The Lark will be brighter on the ear, so the elevation is more prominent in the mix. So compared to the Spaceship, as you guys can see, it's more flat into the overall signature, but geared towards a more kind of bright, neutral. Compared to the Lark definitely has a more bright listen on the ear. So the Spaceship is more neutral to the ear, smoother sound as well with that dynamic driver. The vocal for me is more lush, smoother. The cymbals are also fuller on the Spaceship, and also for me the presentation is more natural to the ear over the Lark. In comparison, the Lark has a tighter bass, cleaner vocal as well, better micro detail, better separation, brighter, and also more aggressive sound as well. So both have different usages for me. Bright neutral versus a bright signature. So it will depend on your preference. If you like a more neutral sound on the ear and smoother sound as well, and better vocals, go for the Spaceship. If you like brighter, cleaner sound and better detail retrieval and separation, you might want to go to the KBR Lark. So for my personal preference, I still like the Spaceship more. So it's still one of my personal favorites, but again, it will depend on your preference. For me, the Lark definitely is a really cool option. This definitely has its own unique selling point. That's what I like about IEMs. You have a unique selling point. So definitely, if you like more of an analytical listen, this is the pick that you would want. And if you're an enthusiast as well, looking for a hybrid, this will fall right in your boat. So definitely really good value still for the KBR Lark. So yes, some downsides. This might be a bit too hot for some people. If you found the KBR KB04 to be too hot for you, you will find this hot as well. So tip change may help, but yeah, definitely the hotness is still there. And also yes, the tonality is not the best here, especially on top. So again, that's one downside. But yes, for a critical listen, for a bright listen on the ear, detail retrieval, This goes to me as recommended, and also one of my favorite hybrids as well in the price range. So that's my review of the KBR Lark, and this is supposed to be a shorter review, but we're gonna see after I edit this if this is indeed shorter compared to my other reviews. But yes, if you have additional questions, let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to treat me some coffee, I do have a PayPal link as well down in the description below. And of course, if you learned something, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. We review budget to mid-fi audio gear, so if you're into that, consider subscribing. And see you guys in the next Z Bolt review. Goodbye.